your microphone, or is this working?
Yes, you might need that.
Because I don't have anything here. So, yeah, good. Yeah, great. Thanks for hanging around. I know it's been a long conference day, and I definitely appreciate that you're still here for the last talk in this track. I hope I make it worth your while. Yeah, this is my topic, automating application security. As already introduced by Peter, I'm a researcher in information security at Zurich University of Applied Science. Before becoming a researcher, I worked as a pen tester and security consultant in Germany and Switzerland. And yeah, did a lot of manual application security testing. And discovered a lot of the limitations of the traditional manual approach to application security. That's why I basically looked for ways how we can automate parts of the process, parts of the security testing process, because I think it's very important to make security really work. So to give you a little bit context how we currently do application security, these are kind of the staples a lot of companies do when they try to introduce security in their application development process or application deployment process. So yeah, we try to teach our developers not to make secure coding mistakes, introduce security vulnerabilities. We hire a pen tester each year or each half a year to conduct penetration tests of applications. We maybe run a bug bounty program, then we already kind of advanced, and it's definitely getting more popular these days, which is very, very good for security. And we certainly deploy some kind of security appliance like a WEF or an IPS or something like this. And these things are, of course, good and they work for themselves. But the question is, do they really work together and do they really solve the problem we have in security? And I think the question or the answer to this question is not really, and not so much, as you see here. So this is just a small selection of headlines I kind of Googled together in maybe 2 minutes by looking for the biggest hacks in 2019. And I think you could fill a couple of more slides with this, probably a whole presentation. So there are a lot of hacks each year. And you see big supply chain attacks like against ASOS. You see Capital One here, which is a very interesting example because this is a company who did or who does a lot of things right in security, and they still got hacked by a not overly sophisticated attacker. So the attacker responsible for the breach at Capital One was not your APT, Russian, Chinese, North Korean hacker with a big infrastructure and a lot of time. This was kind of a casual hacker who posted her loot afterwards on GitHub. So this is the situation where we are. So companies are doing all these things on the first slides, investing a lot into security, and they're still getting hacked. So this leads to the question, why is security not working, or why are our security controls not working? And we are now in a cool situation at our university that we're doing a joint venture with a company, a security startup in Zurich, where we can test all the things we develop and we develop in our research in the field. So we can test our approaches to automating parts of the application security process, and we can see very quickly what works and what doesn't work. And in the last couple of months, we run several proof of concept runs, and we've seen some interesting things, which I think show quite clearly why security and all the security controls we are all using in our companies are not working. And one of the main reasons for that, for example, one of the results we found doing these proof of concept runs, many companies just don't know their attack surface. I think this is nothing new for a lot of people involved into application and company and business security, but it's always interesting to see how big the problem really is. So in basically every proof of concept run we did find exposed dev and test systems. We did find forgotten legacy systems. And we did find a lot of systems IT or security didn't know about at all. So just to give you a proportion for every 3 systems, IT did know about, there was one system they didn't know about. And these are systems they don't patch, and these are systems they don't include in any of the security controls they deploy. Second big thing, there are still a lot of low-hanging fruits in a lot of company infrastructures. So we only tested external-facing infrastructures, so things that companies put out onto the internet, reachable for everybody. And we always find default credentials. So admin, admin password. We always find debug and test applications which shouldn't be there, or systems like, unpatched and forgotten systems. So I think everybody who has worked in pen testing or application security at some point knows that this is normally how you get into a company network. You don't use the super sophisticated zero-day exploit or write something yourself. Normally you use admin on some kind of externally exposed web panel in a debug application, get a shell from there, and then off you go. And these are things which we basically found everywhere in our POC runs. And this leads, to this third problem. Manual testing just can't handle these two things. Because when you think about how do you test several hundred applications manually, and this is a realistic number. So there are a lot of companies who have more than 100 web applications externally facing in the internet. How do you test that manually? When you think about one application, web application test is about 5 project days. This makes 500 project days. You know what you have an idea maybe what the average daily rate is for a pen tester in Switzerland. You see, this is a big budget for IT security, and a few companies do have this budget. And secondly, when you, as a manual tester, approach a big attack surface like that, with a lot of low-hanging fruits, you very quickly get caught up in all these low-hanging fruits. So a lot of pen testers, they find so many easy things in a pen test, and they need to report all these easy things, that the time is just not there to look for more hidden wounds and to look for more hidden problems. And so a lot of companies are not really getting good results from pen testing. I think pen testing and manual pen testing is super important, but how we're doing it right now, there are a lot of problems and they're not really solving security. So what can you do differently? And one of my answers, and our answer is, let's try to automate at least part of the process to make it more efficient. And we have identified 2 areas where automation can be most effective in our way. One is continuous application security testing. So our idea is really to plug security deeply into DevOps. This is also nothing new, so DevSecOps is a topic for a couple of years already, and I think it's very, very beneficial for security because a lot of reasons. But one reason is you can really plug security directly into the application development deployment process by testing every code commit directly for security vulnerabilities. This is an engine we developed who can do exactly that. And the second point is continuous security monitoring. Scanning your externally facing, internet-facing architecture regularly gives you one of the most important benefits of security: visibility. You see what you have deployed, you see what other departments have deployed, and you have not so many systems which you don't know about. And I think automation really helps everybody. So, but especially it helps security engineers keeping up with the speed of development. And this is one of the problems we're facing and one of the reasons for a lot of security vulnerabilities introduced, that the developers are just way more quicker than security engineers, and they're way more developers than security engineers. And if we give security engineers the tooling, which is automation, they can keep up with that. Of course, there are problems of automation. Automation can't solve everything. I think everybody who ran a security tool or security scanning tool at least once does know that there are a lot of high number of false positive findings which you kind of need to go through. So this is one of the areas where our research now focus on reducing this number of false positives, and we have quite good success with it by, for example, cross-correlating the results of a lot of security tools and by that reducing a lot of the false positives. And the second problem, of course, there are at least now whole classes of vulnerabilities where automated tools are just not good at finding them. And everything connected with business logic is difficult for automated tools to find. But this is also an area from our research where we focus, and for example, at the moment we are trying to develop a solution for finding access control vulnerabilities, one of the most severe vulnerabilities in a lot of software products, and I think we're making good progress there too. So I think always keep in mind that automation will never probably replace human testers, but it can play a very, very important role in enhancing humans, like probably automation will in a lot of areas. So I think, yeah, automation can really make everybody in security better. Developers can fix maybe a lot of securities by themselves, like a security service. Security engineers can concentrate their focus on high-risk areas instead of getting caught up in all this low-level, low-hanging fruit stuff. And the same is true for pen testers, who also definitely benefit from automation because they don't need to waste project time, and this means also money on finding and reporting low-hanging fruits, and they can really focus on the high-value targets and on the interesting stuff. So yeah, that's all. I'm open for questions.
Right. Thank you, Malte. Who has a question for Malte from our friends here, perhaps? Come on, this is where we feed you the questions, and you go like, how did you do such a great presentation in such a short time? But, you know, where can people look if they want to find out more?
Yeah, that's good. Of course, they should look at, we should have put it on the slide, at scanmeta.io. This is the website of the joint venture we're doing with a startup in Zurich, where we're deploying parts of our research, and this is definitely already a product which is live, so definitely check that out, or just approach any of us from Zurich University of Applied Science. I think everybody knows this project.
Okay, any other questions? Right, then before I forget, I have to hand them out in proper order. These thank yous, this is $1 million, congratulations. This has a full-size replica of a Jumbo 747, and this is the International Space Station. Thank you. Before everybody leaves and we close, is this off? Because otherwise it's going to be terrible. Please visit the remaining sessions. This track is closing now, but track 1 is still open, so we're going to hear threat modeling stories from the front line. We're going to hear about 7 years of CISO. That sounds particularly enticing. You remember that movie 7 Years in Tibet? And there's going to be fireside chats, which I heartily recommend at 7:30. Also, please attend the raffle at 6:30. And enjoy the rest of your day. Warm applause to our speakers once more. Warm applause to your moderator. And yeah, since I never can get enough from standing on a stage, I'm now going to go to Zurich and attend a lecture. Right, brilliant. Thank you, everybody, and enjoy the rest of the show.